Good morning. It is July 1st, 2021. This is your June recap for Allodium and for the Soft-Grid Foundation and myself. First of all, I want to start off by clarifying something that might not be clear to other people. So, OG Foundation is my Allodium, my property. So the definition of allodium, it's like an estate, property held absolutely, with no dues owed to any overlord, without acknowledging any other authority figure, essentially. So everyone can have their own allodium, lowercase a, their own estate, their own property, their own absolute ownership of stuff. So OG Foundation is my allodium, lowercase a. Allodium, uppercase A, is the sovereign state, the cooperative of sovereigns that has formed a free and sovereign state with the affirmation of truth, rights, and responsibility as the contractual least common denominator for the cooperative of capital A Allodium. So, OG Foundation, my lowercase a Allodium, is staked to the cooperative of capital A state of Allodium, which places my Allodium in the jurisdiction of the state of Allodium. The state of Allodium was formed out of the country of Vermont, formed in 1777, which affirms each individual's right to form their own state, even though Allodium was formed by a community, not represented by an individual, because the state of Vermont's constitution recognizes the community's right to alter or reform government, whereas the country of Vermont recognizes the individual's right to alter and reform government. So a bit of a caveat, I was thinking July had 31 days, and that today would be the 31st, the last day of July, but I was wrong. So, let's get to it. So for Allodium, what happened in the last month? Well, there were some deaths of creatures relative to Allodium. First of all, my dad died. He was a member of the cooperative, and he died earlier in June, about 3 months after taking his jab, which I had did my best to communicate the reality that it's a toxic injection that's untested and is most likely not in your best health, but he chose to trust the authority figures, the news, the mainstream media, the propaganda, and his health got really bad afterwards, and he was really suffering for weeks before he died as a result of that choice. That was the first member of Allodium who has died that I'm aware of. There's a couple other members that I'm not in close communication with that could have died, but so setting the precedent for when a member dies basically becomes a dangling branch, and there's a 52-week period before their account will be dropped or burned, will fall from the member tree, and in that time there's the potential for there to be like a inheritance type thing. So like if a person dies and they have family to inherit their property, if they haven't made a clear will during that 1 year period as a dangling branch, or it could be used to clarify the will, but if they haven't made the will, there could be a proposal by the potential inheritance, and then if that gets approved by the majority of OG Cred stakeholders, then they would enact that inheritance plan. So I don't know if probably talk to my brother about that at some time in the future. Also, Leia, the fish, died. There's been 2 goldfish here for several years, Leia and Uton. And Leia, I'm not sure the cause of death exactly, but and I think it's a he, though I thought it was a she originally, but I think fish, the females are bigger than the males. But anyways, he got stuck, seemingly burrowed himself into a corner of the tank and got stuck there and then died. But I don't know, but the fish died, and so it's just a 1-fish tank, and that fish, Uton, is still in mourning and adapting, basically, and at some point we'll get more company. And then Cupid, the chicken rooster, the first creature born here in Allodium, also died. He was very loud, and I would often throw him out of the coop in the morning, which is right near my bedroom, so I could get more sleep. I'd throw him out of the courtyard, and he'd be further away from me, and then hours later, when it's morning and everyone's up, he'd be back with all the chickens. He'd walk around the courtyard wall and come back in, but there was a predator out there that morning, a fox most likely, and threw him over the courtyard wall, and was happy to go back to sleep. And when I woke up, he wasn't there, and then when I investigated, I found all the trail of feathers of Cupid's. Cupid got chased down and tried to survive and ran around and kept getting attacked by this thing until finally the fox got him in his mouth and dragged him away, and then Cupid was still alive and struggling until the fox got far enough away where he then released Cupid and finished him off in a final struggle with feathers. And after that, there was not many feathers, or no feathers. That's where I lost the trail, because Cupid was no longer struggling and losing feathers, and the creature took him off and ate him somewhere else. Other things in relation to Allodium. Not coming off the top of my head. So, relative to the cooperative state of sovereigns, that's about all I have in the last month. Sammy, this little chickie, who survived. Oh, that's the other thing. Cupid is survived by two chicks, maybe. There's 2 roosters, and so they could be both. They could both have Rudy as their father. Rudy was also Cupid's father. So Rudy's either the father or the grandfather of the 2 chicks, but Cupid may be survived by 1 or 2 of these chicks. Yeah, so relative to this off-grid foundation, OG Foundation, I basically spent all month working on mortar, building out the front entry hall, which is also the facade from the front, so I finished the main roof structure of the 3 arch on one side with another arch on the other side, and then another arch on the side facing the existing home foundation. Sorry about that. It's morning here. I wanted to get the video right out of the way, but don't mean to yawn or pass yawning vibes on to you. So I finished the ceiling part of that mortar, and then as I started insulating it, I decided to not just insulate the structure, but use the insulation board to extend the facade. So there's a 16+ foot wall as the the front face facade now, and I have to extend that to either side, essentially, so that the whole front face will be a minimum 16-foot wall. And then I'm mortaring over that insulation board and adding lath, and it's going to be a lot more added, but it's going to basically just make the look of the foundation so castle-like that no one will be able to deny it was a castle. One thing about my dad is he would call this place, whoa, what are you doing up there? He would call this place compound, and I would refer to it as a foundation, and kind of aspire to the having a castle. It being a castle on a hill. It's got like a tire wall around the outside of the courtyard, and then it's got a curtain wall outside of that with the wooden wall, and so it started out really camouflaged, but basically just transforming the whole facade into clearly a castle. At some point I'll making the wall, the purlin wall, not the purlin, the parapet wall. I keep looking at these chicks. They're running around and doing things. Made it level, but I'm going to end up adding crenellades, those little squares on top of the wall the archers would hide behind, all for no practical purpose, just for the facade. But the looks of things and the facade of something can have practical purposes insofar as how you relate with other people, and the image and the concept that's communicated. And so the current design style, and like up until this transition, has been largely been camouflage, kind of, and blending in with the nature and everything, and that's changed, and so it's going to change the whole look of it all, and it'll stand out more and be more obvious over time to all of the other people, and that's also related to the duration of time that I've held this property as my allodium, so that even eminent domain in common law is recognized, and by the time we hit 10 years in Vermont law, which is Vermont eminent domain, unless it's 15 years, I don't know, I need to look it up, but that's legislation, not law. I should clarify. There's a difference between legislation and law. Law is derived from nature and is enshrined in constitutions, whereas legislation is created by legislators and is a derivative of the Constitution. It's applied to the standard of the Constitution, just like the Constitution is applied to the standard of natural law, God's law. So none of that is necessary to understand at all if you're just in harmony with the nature of reality. Then you understand natural law, and you can just stay in that relativity of truth when relating with constitutional law made by man, and then also the legislations upon that, which are secondary to the constitutional law. So everything that I'm doing here is lawful. Some of it might be illegal, but I have no discomfort or qualms or any issue with that, because the law is superior to the legislation, and I have no relation to the legislation other than the potential interaction with the enforcers of the legislation who are sworn to uphold the law. So if I understand the law, that I can keep those enforcers bound to their oaths of allegiance to that law. So that's really about it. There's been a lot of volatility in the crypto market. I've been doing a lot of crypto type stuff and trading, and learning more about that, and that's helped me to be able to focus the entirety of my time and labor on developing the foundation here, and not have to think about making earning a wage or more money, and being able to manage Allodium's assets and just maintain the state of abundance, as I'm spent a lot of money this year, honestly, on not as nearly as much as last year, but spending a lot of money on building. This whole structure is pretty epic, especially compared to the past structures. It's taking everything to a whole nother level, and I'm doing it right and putting in the money for the right materials, and happy with the outcome so far. But there's a lot more to do, and I'm doing it as I'm able. So that's pretty much all the updates from the foundation. So we got Allodium in the foundation for myself. Well, also, we transitioned from spring to summer, and that's kind of an energy shift of kind of the expectation and expansion of spring and new growth to summer is more of steady. I think of it all in sine waves, and so the summer would be kind of like the peak. The spring would be like the steepest angle into the summer, and then the summer you're like peaking, or midsummer we'd actually peak and then be falling into the fall. So we're still on the upswing of summer, even though we're at peak light. We're not at peak summer. Anyways, anything else to add relative to any of this? Sorry, I just do everything on the fly, and I don't really prepare. Yeah, I'm really bullish about the projects going on here, and with the trends in the cryptocurrency and the ability to manage the assets. And the only thing I'm not bullish on is other people interrelating with all of this. But I've realized, and I've come to peace with just being being by myself in this, and being at harmony with the creatures. There's a chick, one of the chicks that's like hopping up and trying to bite at, I think, an immature apple on this tree, a low-hanging fruit. It just looks funny as it hops and pecks and tries to get it. But yeah, I suppose I'll just end it there. That's your June Allodium OG Foundation update. Oh, yesterday I could add, I went to court. Was that yesterday or the day before? So I have a federal case where I'm suing I don't know, it's a civil rights case, for discrimination, for not wearing a mask, or being refused service from the public market, the grocery store, because I'm not wearing a mask, or I was not wearing a mask in January. They've already changed their policy, so they don't even enforce masks, and it was actually great. The courthouse doesn't either. I thought Biden passed something, so all the federal buildings, they were going to require a mask. I had to tie a t-shirt around my face to submit the paperwork in the first place. But here at the hearing a day or two ago, I didn't even have to wear a mask, so that was nice. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. The whole justice system is so stupid that I don't really care, honestly, if what happens with it. It would be a relief if it just gets dismissed and I don't have to deal with it anymore. But it's like my moral obligation to pursue it as far as I'm morally obliged to. So I have no problem kind of like not being in relation with that whole system. But it's a time thing. It's like, and it's relative to the access to the grocery store. So if I can't use any grocery store, it changes my habits and my ability to collect food. I mean, in this situation, it was one grocery store, and I could still go to the other grocery stores, but I could see a situation in the winter where there's a new variant, and now all the grocery stores require masks, and so this is my one opportunity to bring it to court, and I can maybe overturn it, and then no grocery stores will be able to do it. But even regardless, just for the one grocery store, even if they do dismiss it, it's still enacting a consequence upon them of several $100s or maybe thousands, I don't know, however much they pay for their lawyer, to deal with all this. So instead of just selling me a pint of ice cream and a thing of celery, which is what I was buying at the time, I had already got it, and I was in the checkout line, I was paying for it, and I was wasn't close to anyone else. I was keeping my distance. I was just ready to pay, and all the attendants get together and they're like, no, we're not going to serve you. That's our policy. We don't sell food to the unmasked. So, I mean, it is what it is. If all the grocery stores pass that policy, well, I hope it doesn't happen. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this court case. So that's about it. It wasn't dismissed. It was a scheduling hearing. Apparently the court wants me to make the schedule for the case. It's like, I pay you. I'm employing the court to prosecute these people. You can't make a schedule. Like, I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make any logical sense, but it's just the way that the system is. Anyways, I'm not going to lament that. Everything is basically going great here. I am just in full work mode all the time, and just based on weather, I put in as much work as I can. The animals are pretty much all good and resonant. The financial system's all good. We're abundant. So just solo creating and thriving, and we'll see if in time if there's more people in relation. But for now, myself and all the creatures are doing great, even though we've had some deaths in the last month. It's still very positive, thriving energy. And that's it. I'll wrap it up there, and I'll talk to y'all next month.